Okay, well, welcome everybody. Hi, welcome to our monthly online retreat, and this month with the theme Dependence on God. I'm Peter, I'm going to be the host this weekend. And yeah, we have a beautiful weekend ahead of us. We're going to have music, and also we have David and the movie workshop tomorrow. But to start us off, we have Francis Su here with us at Casa Quantico in Mexico. And hi, Francis. And we have Kirsten Buxton at Living Miracles Monastery in Utah. Hi. So welcome, and I'll pass it over to you guys now.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you all for this monthly time together to remember God. And I'm so happy to have Kirsten here with me today to open this weekend. Hi, Kirsten.
Hi, Francis.
Yeah, and I was just reading the names of the participants for this weekend together. I saw a lot of new friends joining us for the very first time from Canada and United States mainly, which is very interesting because right before I came over to the studio, I saw on Facebook that yesterday was Canada Day, which was to celebrate the independence of Canada. And on Sunday would be the Independence Day for the United States. So this whole weekend was wrapped by two national holidays of two big countries. And here we are having us celebrating the dependence on God as the theme of this time together. And also, yeah, I just also saw someone who joins us for the first time from Vietnam, Ernst. So I just also want to mention that. Welcome to join us for the very first time from Vietnam. So yeah, I guess I also, when I just got here, I read the participant name, and some of you also sent in beautiful prayers. And my eyes just landed onto the newest prayer sent in, and it was from Ernst. So I was very touched. Actually, I read this prayer, and then I feel all this emotion swirling inside of me right before the session started. So I thought it's just a beautiful prayer to read out loud and to start this whole weekend together. It's very brief, so I just want to read it. Ernst said, "Father, let me walk in the grace of your love. Take you me fully, think, feel, speak, and act you through me. Teach me about faith, and let me learn to have no other guide. Plant me in your garden. Do not let me go. Amen." Thank you. I feel so touched by this, especially because of the "plant me in your garden, do not let me go." And it reminded me of this one testimony I watched from someone who had a vision with Jesus. He was in a mystical experience, and in the mystical experience that Jesus came and then had a little conversation with him, and then he felt Jesus was about to go, and he said, Jesus, please don't go, don't leave me, and please don't let me go. And he said, all I want for this life is to know you and for you to know me. And he said, Jesus says, I know you. And when he heard that sentence, he said, he started to cry and started to bawl like never before. Because in that moment, he realized there is no desire in his heart that's deeper than that. To know that he's loved, to know that he's divine, to know that God knows him. And when I watched that, I remember I resonated with that very deeply. So yeah, so that just reminds me of that, and to see that this weekend, this beautiful topic, dependence on God, is really a practical way of walking this life for a purpose that we shall know ourselves and we shall know God. And I actually, this week, I talked with Kirsten quite a few times. And the last time we talked, we realized we're to do this session together because there's just so much swirling going on where she is at in Living Miracles Monastery. So I really want to, just see whether you have anything to open this retreat with, Kirsten.
Yes, thank you. It's a beautiful, beautiful prayer that you shared. And yeah, as I was just in prayer about this session and this weekend, I feel such a high vibration. Almost feel like my whole being is just buzzing with this experience, and then finding the words to be able to share what it is to be in this experience of total dependence on God. It's really deep. It's a deep experience that comes through surrender, like surrendering my will over and over and over again, simply to know that God is there. Simply to know that God is there. And as you were sharing, I was reminded of the beginning of my journey, when I fell to my knees and cried out for help and knew I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't live my life without help anymore, and had a revelatory experience of such profound love, where I knew then that God had always been there, that this love had always been there, this paternal, powerful presence of such love that just wanted to take care, and wanted to guide me and show me my life and literally take me through it. And in that experience, I realized the answer to every feeling of homesickness, or feeling split, or feeling lost, or feeling like there wasn't a purpose, in that direct contact with the love. That was everything. And so then it was so simple. Then that becomes the prayer for life. Like, I just want to be with you. I just want to be guided by you. Be you in charge. And after that really solid experience, and realizing that that's all that I needed to do, was just to remember that it was here, to remember that it was available. And it was just up to me to keep asking to be in contact with it. That was all I needed to do. And then the guidance, from the Spirit started to come through more and more consistently. 6 weeks later, Jesus showed up in a meditation and said, "From now on, I'm your guide." And 6 weeks later, he said, "Okay, go here." A Course in Miracles book was put in front of me. And, from that point on, it's just been this consolidation, I would say, of knowing that this is it. And it is this simple. So we become more and more dependent on prayer. Like, dependence on God is dependence on prayer, because prayer is our way to ask and receive the help and the guidance from the Spirit. And the experience here, we've been immersed in a deck project, building a deck, which has been like demolishing the old deck, community deck, off the main building, and then having the team come in for the construction of a new deck, from foundations to substructure to the next phase, which will be, the surface level of the deck. And the whole thing is very symbolic. It seems to be about a building project, but of course it's not. It's for this one purpose of deepening in relationship with God, and therefore with each other, with who is given for this assignment. And what is so, I'd say it's really deep and profound, but in the end it's not. It's just normal, and it's just life. It becomes more and more like just clear that we can't do anything else, but pray and rely completely on the Holy Spirit to tell us and show us. But in a situation like this, where there's, for myself, like no past experience, then in that way it's even easier, because I know that I have no clue how to build a deck. So in that way, I'm at an advantage, because I don't have any past learning that's going to come in, and interfere with knowing that the direction is going to come from prayer. So that's really the foundation of the whole thing. And the healing is really seeing where the other thoughts come in, personal thoughts of past ideas, or fear, or a responsibility of getting the job done, or thoughts of time, or really any personal responsibility for doing any of it. That's literally the healing. And as that is allowed to be acknowledged and clearly seen for what it is, then it's just an automatic response. Or that's the training, that's the mind training, to remember to join together in mind and remember to pray, so that we can keep coming back to being guided and being shown the way. And I think what's profound about it is that, like, we literally can't mess it up. Like, there's 1,000 ways to build a deck, and every way would work. It's like you can, and now, like, there's treated wood underneath, and treated wood could just rest on dirt, and it would be okay. It's designed to last. But it's even better if the wood is on gravel, then there's better drainage. But it's even better if it's on concrete, because then it's a solid foundation and it's not going anywhere. and there's all these different ways it could be done, and all these different ideas of how it could be done. And yet the training is to keep going beyond minimizing to get the job done, or protectionism that would build in a whole lot of unnecessary, add-ons, ideas or additional ideas, to really land and know exactly what it is that we are to do for this next step, for this particular assignment, and knowing it's all for this. It's constantly for this purpose. So,
It's so transferable, building a deck is coming as a big project in the monastery for everybody who is there right now. And yet, as big, as massive as it seems, it is still just a backdrop for us to practice prayer and to receive answer that way, to receive a solution to absolutely every seeming problem that we still perceive, to be answered in a direct way. And if that sounds too simple, because it does, and in the very complicated, I know, mind of the ego, it just sounds like it's not something I can count on.
mm-hmm.
I need to count on my past experience. I need to count on my self-effort. I need to count on my own planning. I need to count on, my own self-interest, protectionism, defense. So it sounds too simple to just be able to count on prayers and to the solution that we receive in prayers. But if that sounds too simple, even today's lesson notch it up into another level. I call on God's voice and on my own. And in the whole lesson, Jesus says, just call on God's voice. And there's no other words that you need to even say. There is no questions you need to even formulate. There is no other things. There is no other thoughts. Call on God's name and you will be answered. It is so simple, and it is a single focus. Jesus is teaching us, God is reached through desire. Because if we desire nothing else, that's what we will experience, because God is reaching us. He's not hiding from us. He's not trying to avoid us. It is us who put on this defense and this, this fear of constantly, like a fear of the love in different forms. So, yeah, exactly like you said, when we talk about dependence on God, it is in practicality, in a practical way, to open up to this love, to open up to this experience, and this knowing is actually to be dependent on prayers, to really put that in practice, to pray, and also not take it lightly, not to say I pray but I didn't hear, oh well, I guess that doesn't work. But truly say that our mind is so mighty and so powerful. And this time I'm going to give to prayer to listen. And I'm going to count on that. I'm going to count on hearing the answer. And I'm going to count on that there is a relationship that's going to be strengthened through the prayer time, through the listen and follow.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and it feels like there's that point in the course where Jesus says, I think it's in the manual for teachers, that you may be surprised at times and actively resist the message that's going to come through you, you know, and because it's going to surprise you, because it's not from you. And that is a big part of it, of this development of trust, of dependence on God. And so when there's a project like this, or when we're asked to expand or take on like an area, like for you with Take Me Home, you know, you never directed a movie before, no. and yet there's so much precision and so much guidance that needs to come through you because you're the channel that it's given to come through. And it's the same with this project. It's like with, there can be a direction, and then I'll hear two words, blocking and flashing. Blocking and flashing. And so there's guidance. Okay, this is for the morning, this is for the day, blocking and flashing. And I come back out, and the team's got a little off track and started to look at building a step, and nothing was moving. And I went out and like, how's it going? Where's things at? And it's like, okay, well, there's this and this needs to be done. And it sounds like everyone knows. And yet I just went out and prayed, and I can feel it. And this is part of our development of this relationship, is we have to learn to trust the feeling that comes with prayer. Like there's a knowing that gets stronger and stronger in our awareness. I know what it feels like when I'm guided by spirit. I know what it feels like when I'm listening. And I know what it feels like that starts to extend and expand into working with others. I know when we're on track. I can feel it. It's visceral. There's a flow, and we're in it together. And even if there's healing that comes up, that's okay. But you can feel the difference when it's blocked, when the energy's blocked, or when it's going into a direction that's directed by the I know mind, or you know, it's pulling away from the spirit. And so just coming and listening and being with the team, and then it's like, okay, blocking and flashing, blocking and flashing. That's all I know, blocking and flashing. And then it's like this reset for everyone. And they're like, oh yeah, of course, that's all we're meant to be doing. And in this simple following of just moving forward with the blocking and dropping everything else, trusting the answers don't need to be known yet, you know, about anything else. Just follow this one prompt, and then boom, the flow starts to come in, you know, and everything starts to roll again. So it's so practical, and to dare to just not even know anything else, like, and then that becomes more and more fun. Like that's where the vibrancy is. Like, all I know is this, but this is enough. This is everything. And in this moment, it's blocking and flashing. You know, it's just what's given.
Yeah, I remember when with the movie Take Me Home, I got the dream 6 years before the project started. And then during that waiting time, I asked Jesus, is this really happening, or is it just my fantasy or imagination that there is a vision like this? And he said in my mind, he said, it is already done, and you need to take no thoughts about it. When it's time, I was signed to the team. And when he said it's already done, I always remember that when the project actually unfolded, this is already done. So it's a very different approach than, oh, I need to make this happen. I need to figure out the right way, the wrong way. I'm personally responsible. But knowing this is for a very, very different purpose. This is purely just for, in my own case, is for me to pray and listen, pray and listen, pray and listen, listen and follow, communicate what I heard. And same for everybody else. listen and follow, and also to come together to clear whatever the resistance to that guidance would be, either being pride or I think I know how this should be done in order for a movie to come about. So there is a lot of blocks. That's why, you know, this pathway of A Course in Miracles is a pathway of forgiveness. It's a pathway of clearing those blocks which would come up in the love's presence, in the presence of guidance, which is the voice for God, which is a bringer of the experience of peace and love. In the presence of that, it's actually not uncommon. It's actually very, very common that resistance, fear, no, my past told me to do it this way. No, the future goal determines that it has to be done that way. It's ultimately is all a defense against a present peace through listening, through saying yes, accepting. So I would say that once we shift this purpose of our life, you can see it doesn't really matter whether it's, you know, in a community working on a deck project, it's working on a movie project, or working on anything throughout life. Suddenly we can give our whole life a very, very different purpose. And this purpose is purely to count on the Spirit's guidance, count on that we are taken care of, and this perception that we have on a daily basis, there are things to be done, there are problems to be solved, will be corrected, will be healed by listening and following